Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into some scientific laws that might just blow up everything you think you know about how brands actually grow.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a real-world scenario. Picture this. You are the head of marketing for Colgate toothpaste in the US. A brand new and, frankly, pretty terrifying report just landed on your desk.
So, the first thing you see is this chart. Your main competitor, Crest, is sitting at a comfortable 34% market share, while you guys are way down at 17%. They literally have double your share. That's a huge gap. But honestly, that's not even the scariest part. Now have a look at Crest's customer base. Over half their sales, a solid 54%, come from loyal buyers. The people who come back time and time again. That right there, that looks like a really healthy, strong brand. And then you look at your own numbers. And wow, it is the complete opposite story. A staggering 70% of your sales are coming from switchers. These are people who are pretty disloyal. They just buy you every now and then. The alarm bells are definitely starting to ring.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. You look at the survey of those switchers, your occasional buyers, and even among them, Crest switchers are way more likely to say Crest is their favorite. For you, only 18% say that. So, what's the conclusion? The brand looks weak. Like really, really weak.
The standard marketing playbook would look at all this data and give you a pretty grim diagnosis. Your sales base is unhealthy. You're attracting the wrong kind of customer. Your brand just flat out lacks loyalty. You are in deep, deep trouble.
And of course, the recommendations would be to throw a ton of money at this so-called loyalty problem. You know the drill. Launch some new persuasive ads, increase your ad spend to try and change attitudes, and desperately try to find and target these loyal customers.
But what if I told you that entire diagnosis, that whole action plan, and all the panic that went with it is completely 100% wrong? What if what looks like a massive problem isn't actually a problem at all? See, the real issue here isn't with Colgate's performance. It's with the marketing industry that often pretends it exists in a vacuum. I love this quote. Architects can't just decide to ignore gravity. But for some reason, marketers think they can operate in a world without any rules. Because here's the secret. In marketing, just like in physics, there are predictable patterns. These are universal laws that explain how people buy things. And those so-called problems we saw in the Colgate report, they're not problems. They're just symptoms of these interconnected laws. And once you see them, you really can't unsee them. And that brings us to the biggest, most important law that you've probably never heard of. It's called the law of double jeopardy, and it is the key to cracking this whole code. It sounds dramatic, but it's actually really simple. Double jeopardy means that smaller brands always, and I mean always, get hit twice. First, they have fewer buyers, and second, those buyers are just a little bit less loyal. It's not a weakness, it's just a predictable, mathematical outcome of being smaller.
Don't just take my word for it. Let's look at the evidence. Here's washing powder in the UK. The big brand, Persil, is bought by 41% of households. The smaller brand, Surf, only 17%. And now look at loyalty, or purchase frequency. Persil buyers get it 3.9 times a year. Surf buyers get it 3.4 times. See? Fewer buyers who buy it just a bit less often. That's a perfect double jeopardy pattern. And it's not a one-off. Here's the shampoo market in the UK. The big brand, Head & Shoulders, has way more buyers, 23% penetration. But what's really wild is if you look at the loyalty column, it's almost identical for every single brand. The only real difference is how many people are buying them in the first place. And let's hop over to the US shampoo market. Different country, different brands, same exact law. So all those scary metrics for Colgate, they weren't a sign of some deep brand weakness. They were just a perfectly normal reflection of its market share. And this is just one law of many. Okay, so if this law is true and the data is pretty overwhelming, what does it mean for your strategy? What's the new playbook? Well, it starts when you realize double jeopardy is linked to other laws, like the famous Pareto 60-20 rule, which shows that for every brand, a small number of heavy buyers account for the bulk of sales. All these laws point in one very clear direction. And it's this: the fundamental difference between brands isn't some magical quality called loyalty, it's just popularity. The only significant way to grow is to get more customers, especially all those millions of light buyers out there. That's how you increase penetration. And this is vital because another law, the Duplication of Purchase law, shows us that your customers are also buying your competitors. The idea of a niche, loyal customer base is basically a myth.
And the proof is in the results. An analysis of 880 different ad campaigns found that strategies aiming for penetration, getting more customers, were massively more successful. I mean, just look at the awards won. 21% of penetration campaigns won gold, compared to just 2% for campaigns chasing loyalty. The data doesn't lie. So this really does turn traditional marketing completely upside down. The goal isn't to waste a ton of money and effort chasing a tiny group of so-called brand loyals. The real way to grow is through sophisticated mass marketing, reaching as many right and occasional buyers as you possibly can. So why does all this matter? Well, as the former CMO of Coca-Cola put it, it's about moving beyond the psychobabble. When you understand these laws, you get a huge competitive advantage. But here's the most incredible part. These aren't just a handful of random rules. They are all predictable outcomes of a single, comprehensive mathematical theory of buying behavior called the NBD-Dirichlet model. It proves marketing doesn't have to be guesswork. It can be a science.